What's up, you guys? It's Graham here. So over the last 6 years, I've ended up buying 5 properties, and every one of those 5 properties needed to be remodeled. And between those properties, I've easily spent over a few $100,000 on renovations and upgrades. And these are the biggest 7 mistakes that I've made along the way that you guys can learn from. So I'll get right into it. The first one is going with cheap materials. I think it goes without saying that yes, you can save a lot of money up front by going with the cheaper materials. Especially if it's gonna be a rental, it's a really fine balance between picking materials that get the highest return on your investment. Now, although going with cheaper materials ends up saving you a lot of money in the short term, in the long term, it ends up costing you more when you have to replace these things. Now for me, cheap flooring was one of my first mistakes, and in the first rental property I got, I ended up going with the cheapest floors I could find at Home Depot. I think they were like $1.09 per square foot. It was on a special, and I bought all of it. Now for the first few years, it actually looked really good. I would say these floors were like a 10 out of 10, and I thought I scored. But then after a few years, the floors started coming up a little bit on the edges. Then I noticed they started to leave scratches really easily. Then I noticed that anytime something had been dropped on them, the damage became more and more evident, especially if there was any sort of water that was dropped. The floors started to come up around the edges. About 3.5 years in, I started to have to replace a lot of these floors with more expensive laminate flooring that is a lot more durable. So looking back, had I just spent an extra dollar per square foot on higher end laminate flooring, which is still really cheap in the bigger picture, I would have ended up saving a lot of money in the long term by just picking better materials from the get-go. Cheap paint was another one for me. In the beginning, I just picked the cheaper paint because I was trying to save costs on every single angle I could. And it turned out the cheaper paint started to peel, it didn't look as good, and I ended up just going with better quality paints in the future. So again, flooring and paint are 2 items, and it's more important that you get quality materials than pick the cheapest thing out there to save on cost. It'll cost more up front, but it will save you more money in the future. The second mistake is not fixing everything you can from the very beginning. When remodeling a property, it's a lot easier to get it done right now than wait a few weeks or even a few months or even a year until the problem gets worse and then you're forced to replace it. Do it immediately as soon as you can. For me, this has frequently been in electrical and plumbing. Just because it's working right now and maybe it has a few months or even a year of life left in it, don't wait until it breaks at 1 a.m. and then you have an even bigger problem on your hands. It's better to spend the extra money and get it fixed right now than put it off in the future because you're gonna need to do it anyway at some point, so you may as well just get it out of the way right now. My third mistake was going with carpet and rental properties, and this is even something I didn't even give much thought to. I usually see in bedrooms of rental properties, they're carpet, so I just kind of assumed that carpet was the way to go. Carpet gets really dirty. Carpet needs to be replaced really often between tenants. And it ends up costing you a lot more money to keep replacing carpet than just doing laminate hardwood floors from the very beginning and having those last a very long time. If you just end up replacing carpet like twice in like 2 to 3 years, already it usually costs more than just doing laminate floors, which could last 10, 15 years or more. My fourth mistake that everybody makes when renovating a property is underestimating your cost of repairs. It will always, I promise, it's always going to be more expensive than what you think. When you start remodeling, you begin to notice all the little things that you never paid attention to, especially when you begin opening up walls and looking under the house and really getting into the details of the house. You always find additional things that need repair. And again, it's better to get all of these things done now, up front, the right way, than put them off a few years, have it be an issue, and maybe have it get worse and end up being more expensive. Plus, you always get unexpected things that tend to come up when remodeling a place, or you just decide to change things out as you go along, and maybe your ideas change, or maybe you want to do something else instead, or maybe you just want to go higher end, but things always tend to change along the way. So because of that, I always recommend, just in your mind, budgeting an extra 10 to 20% on top of your renovation budget, just in case anything else comes up. And from my experience, it usually tends to be a little bit more than what you originally anticipate. And because of that, my 5th mistake is always underestimating the amount of time it will take to fix up the house. Especially with mistake number 4, when you begin doing things and finding that there's even more work that needs to be done than you originally thought, it ends up taking more time. So if you're quoted 3 to 4 weeks for a project, expect that to probably take 5 to 7 weeks instead. There's always something else that will come up that's gonna take more time and more money. So make sure that you don't underestimate the time that it's gonna take to finish a remodeling project. Plus, just people run late and people are people and people make mistakes and it happens. You have to account for all the mistakes and changes and things that need to be made along the way. Just give yourself an extra few weeks on every single project and that'll give you a more realistic time frame. So my sixth mistake was just not knowing what I was doing. And we all fall victim to this. There's definitely a very steep learning curve between your first place and your fifth place. My recommendation is to always do your research and have a basic knowledge of the remodeling process. That way, if you go into a project and you see something being done incorrectly, you can spot that out and get it done correctly and get it fixed. So for me, my biggest mistake last year was actually with a landscaping project that I was doing. I gave the landscaper pretty much complete reign of the property and I allowed him to do whatever he wanted to do. But I expected him to do it correctly. He cut so many corners along the way and did things so cheaply that in order to do it correctly, basically everything has to be completely ripped out and done over again. That's a lot of money down the drain just for a completely crappy project that needs to be entirely redone. So now after I went through all of that, I'm pretty much like a landscaping expert now and could point out when something is being done incorrectly and I can make sure in the future it's done the right way. And by the way, I was able to learn a lot about landscaping by going online, and YouTube has probably been one of the best resources for learning how to do landscaping and like design and all that sort of stuff. YouTube was probably the one that taught me the most from doing anything so far. Now my seventh mistake is just trusting the workers entirely. The thing is that people are people and people just naturally make mistakes and it happens. Even if they don't make any mistakes, sometimes the vision that you have in your head doesn't correlate to what other people are thinking. So other people might have an entirely different opinion about the way something should be done than you had in your mind. So you should not just blindly trust people that they share the same vision that you do, because chances are it's gonna differ a little bit. So that's why it's so important to be on site as often as possible and make sure your people have the same vision as you and are doing exactly what you want. Trust me on this one, supervising the work is probably one of the best things you can do. I don't need to be at this place pretty much every single day, but I'm here because every single day there's always like little minor tweaks that I want fixed or things I want moved around or changed. Little tiny things that I wouldn't even think about until I see them. That's why it's so important not just to blindly let them do their thing and like go on vacation for a few weeks while all the work gets done. It's so important that you're here, can see it, and that way if anything needs to be changed, you're there immediately to change it. So overall, learn from my mistakes and learn from my experiences. I've had to spend a few $100,000 learning these things just so I can make a YouTube video sharing these things with you guys so you can learn from my mistakes. And hopefully this will end up saving you a lot of money if you end up renovating a place in the future. So again, just to recap, the first mistake is going with cheap materials. The second mistake is not fixing everything you can as soon as you can fix it. The third mistake is going with carpet for rentals. Instead, do high quality laminate flooring. The fourth mistake is underestimating repairs. It's always gonna be more than what you think it's gonna be. The fifth mistake is underestimating the amount of time it takes to fix a place. It's always gonna end up taking longer. My sixth mistake was just not knowing what I was doing. Have a basic knowledge and basic understanding of the remodeling process, and that's gonna help save you a lot of time and a lot of money in the future. My seventh mistake is just trusting the workers entirely. You need to be somewhat involved in the process and supervise just in case something is not done to your liking. So as always, you guys, thank you so much for watching and thank you so much for your support. If you haven't already, click subscribe. I'm gonna be releasing a lot more videos in the future, so if you wanna stay tuned with that, click subscribe. Also feel free to add me on Instagram and Snapchat. I post there pretty much daily, so if you wanna be a part of it there, make sure to click add on one of those. Thank you again for watching, and until next time.